Hey, hope you guys are doing well. Happy Friday. Hope you had a nice July 4th. Some of you living in different worlds across the seas and things like that. I'm sure you don't care too much about July 4th, but that is our 4th of July Freedom Week. 4th of July just happened, so it's now the 7th of July, but most people are just taking the whole week off is what I've noticed. So we may not have too many people in the stream today, but I think the hardcore people will be here. The people that are really into learning, mixing, and mastering and trying to improve. So I'm going to do my best to give as much value as possible to those people. So if you're showing up right now, you're showing up on 4th of July week, and you're probably pretty committed, or you ain't got shit going on. But if you're here for the first time, this is a live stream dedicated to mixing and mastering. I am on the fourth part of actually maybe fifth part of this live stream. It's a folk pop song, and today we're going to dive really deep into some really great stuff that I think any mixing engineer needs to know. And if any of you are taking on clients, or you want to work with a mixing engineer like myself, shameless self plug, I'm going to leave links in the description on this video, of course, so you can work with me on your next record. I'm going to take you through client notes. I'm going to show you how I use references. I'm going to show you how to reference tracks within a mix so that you can bounce back and forth from a reference track to the mix you're working on. And we're going to go through client notes and figure out exactly how to get that sound for that client. The sound they have in their head, not the sound you have in your head, right? So I've sent this mix to the client. The client has listened. They are very happy with the mix, but it is going a little bit of a direction where they think it's a little too pop sounding, and they want to kind of take it back to a more indie kind of tone, more vintage indie kind of vibe. So I don't blame them, man. I don't blame them, but I always go for the biggest mix. I go for the big pop mix, the mix that's going to sell records, the mix that's going to stream well, and people are going to go, wow, that's a great song, right? So that's what I did on this one. And I'll play it for you and everything, and let's say what's up to everybody here. What's up, man? How are you? It's good to see you. Brian, that's what's up. That's what's up. You know how it is. All right, so let's get right into it, y'all. I got notes, everything built up here, and I'm going to pull it up once we kind of play back the song and just remind you where we're at and what we're doing here, okay? So this is the song. It's called Black Leather. It's by Kristen Corbet. And I have the reference mix here, and I have my final mix, version 1 of the master here. So I'm just going to play version 1 of the master for you guys so you can kind of hear where it's at. And then we're going to go through client mix revision notes, and we're going to go through how to address things for clients. Okay, so here we go. And I'm just going to kind of skip around the song. I don't want to like play the whole thing for you. It's pretty long. So I'm just going to kind of remind you what it sounds like.
In the black leather heat of your passenger seat, oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up one too many times, leaving in the middle of the night. Baby, I don't wanna fight, promise I'll be alright. Baby, when I'm with you I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. Go crazy, yeah, you love it, drives me insane, but we're on fire, yeah, we're on fire, we're burning love.
Okay, so I made it really big and spacious. I made it a lot more round and I think more pop for sure. So I think what they want to do is kind of pull it back to like a vintage tone. Okay, so what I have here is I have all the notes from the client. And these are from Jake. Jake's the producer on this track. So, you know, typically the producer is going to sit down with the artist and be like, yo, let's listen to the mix. Sometimes the artist and producer or either or would be behind me and be in my studio going, hey, this is what we think. Here's our notes, you know, playing it back a few times. I like to let people live with the mix a little bit for a while. Like, hey, go listen to it on a bunch of different systems and places you really know well. Your car system, your AirPods, things that you really know. Your room and your studio, go listen everywhere and make sure you know what you like and don't like about the mix. Sometimes I nail it the first time, you know, no notes, no client notes. Like they're like, wow, this is way better than I even thought it could be, right? And that's a great feeling. But most of the time with, I'd say more top tier clients, they're going to have notes. It's just the way it is. Like they've lived with this record for so long without a mix on it. So here's the notes. The track is sounding killer. We lived with it for a second. Here's what they got. Overall, I totally forgot to mention this before you started mixing, so sorry about that. But it would be awesome to add a slightly more lo-fi edginess grit to the mix to give it a tad more indie rock Lana Del Rey vibe, which I kind of got from the record, but I purposely just kind of went to my own route, so I wasn't copying everything Lana Del Rey because I felt like the style was already so Lana Del Rey that I didn't want them to have like a rip-off track of Lana Del Rey. Like, I'll be real with you. That's what I personally put into it as a mixing engineer. Like, hey, how can we make this more Kristen Corbett? You know what I mean? Like, have her own sound. But it sounds like they want to pull back and go back to that indie rock Lana Del Rey vibe, okay? So I'm going to obviously go that route. It sounds so clean and awesome, but gritting it up will definitely help sell the vibe we're imagining. Ideally, we want to learn more, we want to lean more stylized so it doesn't feel too country. I've attached a handful of references at the bottom as well that I think as soon as you hear them, you'll fully get what we're going for. Okay, so I got references as well. So here's references at the bottom. I'm just going to go through the notes overall and you guys can kind of, you know, pay attention. This is going to be a big learning process for anybody that's on this live right now to really understand both sides of the fence, like how you should be sending notes to a mixing engineer, but also how you should be taking on notes as a mixing engineer if you're working with artists, okay? So I hope you get a lot out of this. This might be boring to some people, and that's okay. This stream's not for you. You should go drink a beer and do whatever else, you know, go make a beat. I don't care. But this ain't for you, right? I'm going to go into like actual professional work and trying to help you guys become more professional in your work. Okay, so they don't want to go too country. I get that. Okay, so they got references to go more indie rock sort of vibes, okay? Indie pop. For the lead vocal, if we could try dialing back the verb and adding a tad more vintagey mid vibe to it, even perhaps the littlest bit of decapitator or some extra saturation to make that lead sound even more tapey and old school. I'd say it feels slightly too pop, okay? Which is a totally fair, that's a fair note on this vocal. And that's exactly what I was going for, was very, very pop and dreamy, right? Because that's the vibe I got from the record.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey.
Okay, so I'm going to bounce back and forth from their reference that they mixed to my mix so you can really hear what he means by it sounding too pop for the vocals and what they were going for, which is more of like a filtered, drier, distorted. It sounds more filtered to me, really. Not as full-bodied, basically.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up one too many times, leaving in the middle of the night.
Okay, so hopefully you understand that right away when I play that. A pop vocal to me is like full, right? It has like the body in it. It has the top, it has a nice, clean, smooth mid-range, all that kind of stuff. What they want to do is go more vintagey, like it was going through an old school ribbon or something, right? So a ribbon would give you kind of like that really mid-range heavy stuff where it sounds filtered. Like straight up, like the vocal just sounds filtered. So we're going to try and take that right away. We're going to go for that because the vocal is the most important part to this. Regardless of what all the other notes say, you want to get that vocal right. If they don't feel like the vocal's right, they're never going to like the mix. Okay. So that's just a big tip for y'all. All right. I'm going to go back to my preferences and make sure my solo mode is set for latch because I had XOR so I could A/B things. I'm going to also show you how to set up reference mixes in your session as well. But for now, we're going to go to these vocals and we're really going to focus on the lead vocal here. But remember, all these lead vocals are going to a vocal mix bus. And the best way to do this is to treat the vocal mix bus. Okay, so here's our vocal mix bus.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. Your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is.
Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take down that body boost that I was doing at the 30, which is like giving that, it's giving that big chesty boomy kind of thing, which they're not liking. It's just like something that, sounds more pop to them. Okay, and then probably for the vocal here, we want to kind of check what's going on with everything. Okay. Soothe 2, we might want to back off on trying to dip the mid-range more, right? Because we want that mid-range to pop more. We don't want to be taking it down. And this is taking it down in that 2K area. Okay, EQ P1A. We probably want to take the top boost down just a little bit, just because that's like sparkly, sheeny 16K stuff. Okay, that's pop vocal to me. It doesn't sound mid-range. We want to go mid-range more. So on this Neve, this is really where we want to probably try and get our mid-range from. A Neve is a very classic sound. It's very vintage sounding. So we can even drive the Neve. But let's mess around with boosting this mid-range on the Neve.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me.
Okay, so right away you're getting more of that mid-range, that that vintagey tone that they had. More filtered, more vintage, okay? Now Abbey Road Saturator, this is where we can push this a little bit. We already had this idea on here that he wanted the kind of, hey, give it a little decapitator, give it a little saturation. I think they just want a little more of that, right? They want more of that vintage tone. So we're going to do that, and we're also going to go to this 1.5 on this, or even 2K. 3K area, and we're going to find like where that might be cool as well. So great plugin from Waves, maybe one of my favorites for getting color. Okay, and I'm going to bypass this in and out so you can really hear it.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up one too many times, leaving in the middle of the night. Baby, I don't wanna fight, promise I'll be alright. Oh baby, when I'm with you I go crazy, yeah.
Like that just has a really, really nice drive to it. One thing that I'm not liking about the tonality of this and it not being, like it's sounding too pop right now. So the vocal is sounding too pop right now. And the reason being, I think, is because the top end, okay? So what we want to do here is the post EQ, you can do a few things here. Like you have a shelf here where you can take down the top, right? So let's just try this first.
Easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh.
Okay, so this is the low shelf is what I'm noticing. This is the high shelf here, okay? So on the low shelf, we probably want to take the low shelf down to get it more vintage. And then the high shelf, we want to take that down as well.
easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up one too many times, leaving in the middle of the night. Baby, I don't wanna fight, promise I'll be alright. Oh baby, when I'm with you I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame.
Okay, so now we're trying to get that tonality of that mid-range. Last plugin I'm going to put in this because I think it's close, but I really do want to just kind of mess around with filtering it, because I feel like the biggest thing that we're lacking is like kind of that tape filtered sound of the vocal. So there's the Abbey Road stuff again. I'm not going to like, you know, try and guess what would work. I think the vinyl is really good. Yeah, let's try the vinyl actually. This is a really, really cool plugin. It has some really crazy stuff you can do with it. But if you want, you can just use these modulators, and you can use like the you see this stuff here? This is basically like a filter for the most part. It's going to modulate a filter. We can also start with just like opening up a preset, right? Like let's go to like a vocal. More warmth might be good, or vocal lift, you know, something like that. Let's try more warmth first, and then we'll mess with this preset.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up one too many times, leaving in the middle of the night. Baby, I don't wanna fight, promise I'll be alright. Oh baby, when I'm with you I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane.
Alright, now we're getting like a very musical kind of saturated sound that sounds more vintage, right? Second, or I guess last thing we're gonna do is take down the verb, right? Because that was one thing that they didn't like, is like, hey, make it a little drier. Okay, cool, let's make it drier. So let's go down to the vocal stuff here, and you can see that from these we're sending different, we have a rap verb and we have a vocal verb. The rap verb is gonna be more of like a darker verb that's gonna put space around the vocal, and then the vocal verb is going to be a little bit brighter. And I'll show you what those are. So the vocal verb, here's the rap verb. The rap verb is the vintage Valhalla, and then the Pro Q3. Okay, that's just there just in case I want to filter out the reverb at the end, the return. And then the vocal verb is an altiverb, which is this 252, which is amazing. It's very retro sounding. It's maybe like yeah, like it's a really good EQ or good reverb. So this is going to be stuff that we might want to take down, right? So this boost at 8200, which is in the sides only. So I probably just want to tuck that a little bit. And then let the mid range kind of come back up again and take that down. And then we'll just kind of sweep the bottom. And we're doing this to the vocal reverb return, okay? So now on the vocals, what we want to do is we want to mess around with that send level for these verbs. And just dry it up a little bit.
In the black leather heat of your passenger seat, oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up one too many times, leaving in the middle of, in the black leather heat of your passenger seat. Oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me fucked up. Passenger seat, oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me fucked up one too many times.
All right, so you're noticing the difference, like when you hear the vocal go from one to the other. Now, obviously, the vocal's a little loud right now, and that's okay. We'll balance that back in. But listen, this phrase going to this phrase, because I've tweaked a few things to make it sound more vintage, right? More vibey, and again, we're following these notes, okay? So when we look at these notes, we look at stylized. We don't want to go too country. For the lead vocal, if we could try dialing back the verb and adding a tad more vintagey mid vibe. Okay, even he's saying decapitator for extra saturation. Make that lead sound even more tapey and old school. Okay, feels slightly too pop. All right, so now he says slightly too pop, so we're gonna push a little bit far and then we're gonna back off. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the idea here. Remember, we're following notes and we're trying to get the client what they want. Always. Yo, what's up, Philippe? How you doing, man? Brian. All right, we got some peeps in the house. And if you guys have any questions along the way, say what's up. Old Break, how's it going? From France. France is in the house. Let's go. Yeah, dude, that's what's up. Yeah, keep it up, man. I got a lot. I think I have over like 1,100 videos up on the YouTube now. So it's been like, I mean, I don't think people really get it. Like, it's been like 7 years of uploading videos on YouTube. So hope you guys get a lot out of it. And subscribe to the channel, share the shows, all that stuff. That's really what matters. Keeps me going. All right. Yeah, let's get back to this vocal. I'm going to A-B, like you're going to hear this phrase going into the next phrase. Listen to how much more vintage it sounds.
Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me fucked up one too many times, leaving in the middle of.
Right, so the fucked up one too many times. That is like super like pop and floaty and like how I like it. I think it sounds dope. But we're going more for now like a more vintage dry tone. So that's what we're doing with this lead vocal now, okay? So what we're gonna do now that we've kind of tweaked this, and I think also this needs just a little bit more compression. Okay, so like for a vintage tone, I'm going to, after this EQ, I'm going to hit it with just a more vintage compressor, okay? So a great vintage compressor that I love is going to be, again, the Abbey Road stuff. So Abbey Road has the RS, this is like super, you know, I mean, this is like Beatles, you know what I mean? So this is going to give you that really vintage vibe. It's the All-Tech. Let's get this just kind of giving a little bit of love and a little more of that saturated mid-tone.
I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me fucked up. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me fucked up one time. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me fucked up one too many. I lick the passenger seat. Oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how.
I mean, come on, y'all. Like that is like vintage to me. Like you want vintage, you want that driven mid-range idea with like that nice compression that's really gluey and harmonic, just feels right. That's it right there. The Abbey Road, the RS 124. Like I don't know any better tool for exactly what they're asking in these notes. That's it. Pop that on your vocal and you have a vintage tone. I'm gonna A-B it for you real quick.
Passenger seat, oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both.
I mean, come on. And it sounds like driven. It has that harmonic in it, okay? So we're going to tap this back a little bit so we can open up the high end a little bit. And for the Pro de-esser, we're going to actually put this after, or we're going to kind of bring this down, I think, and let this de-ess a little bit more because I think it needs to de-ess more.
Passenger seat, oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like...
Oh, and again, you guys, don't ever be afraid to de-ess twice. Like, here, I'm going to hit this with a de-esser afterwards, and we'll probably just go a little bit less, right? But this is just going to smooth it out.
Passenger seat, oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh.
Sounding really good to me. Now it's like a matter of volume, and it's also going back to the mix bus, right? The vocal mix bus. We're dialing in this tone right now, you know what I mean? So this Abbey Road, it does have some noise. You can see the noise happening on the meters, right? You can see it right here. See that? The crackle? So that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want a little less, you can just turn it down, right? So you can go, bam, I don't want any clicks. You know what I'm saying? You can get rid of that kind of stuff with the noise. Yeah, that's the noise. And then you got crackles, right? There's that just completely turned way up. And here's the clicks, which I think clicks will only go when you play the audio. But it's like a click, click, you know what I mean? It's going to pop. Okay, so I'm going to turn the clicks off. I'm going to turn the crackle. I like the crackle. I think that's going to make it sound much more vintage and warm, okay? And like, don't be afraid of crackle and noise. People are so scared of that shit. Nah, you guys got to know, like, that's the feel, man. That is like the glue, the stuff like keeping it alive, keeping it human. And of course, like if you're doing like really, really tight, precise EDM, yeah, you don't want a bunch of noise in your tracks. You know what I mean? So everything is a yes and no, right? In audio, it's always yes and no, and it always depends, okay? So don't like look at what I'm doing and go, oh, I'm just gonna copy that preset, it's gonna work. Like, no, you don't have the same vocal, you know? You don't have the same song. It's not the same arrangement. There's all sorts of things that are different. Okay, so I'm just gonna turn this distortion down too. So listen to this phase distortion though. It is pretty intense.
Passenger seat, oh, you told me that love was just so...
So you can really understand what it's doing. Like if you turn that way up, it's like it'll eat everything apart, you know? So you gotta be really careful with certain distortion. We're just trying to go for subtle colors and tones and just take little bites out of each piece. I'm gonna take down the mids on the Neve 1073 because other things are bringing the mids up.
Passenger seat, oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up one too many times, leaving in the middle of the night. Baby, I don't wanna fight, promise I'll be alright. passenger seat. Oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up one too many times, leaving in the middle of the night. Baby, I don't wanna fight. Promise I'll be alright.
All right, y'all like really understanding what I'm doing here? Like I think it's important to understand how you take something from like pop and full body and everything to like more vintage tone without it sounding like you just slapped a fucking tape plugin on it. You know what I mean? Oh, if I put a tape plugin on it and drive some distortion, it'll be vintage. You know, that's just not really the vibe. Like you got to understand what vintage is, what that vintage gear did. A lot of that vintage gear rolled out the top. A lot of that vintage gear didn't even capture the top. Tape machines didn't capture 16K and above, you know what I mean? Like it rolled off. So it made it sound fatter on the bottom and in the mids. The mids got really, really intense because it distorted the tape, right? It distorted the capacitors. It distorted the input transformers. It distorted the tubes, the pentos, the triodes. So it's distorting certain things. And that's what we're doing here. We're trying to get colors of distortion through different things. The red saturator, this is distorting like a red console, which has a bunch of components, probably tubes in there, you know, transformers in there, transistors in there. I don't know if it had transistors actually. It probably had transistors, but not like giving too much color. The capacitors probably gave color, input transformers, output transformers, tubes, all sorts of stuff, man. Gadgets that are just getting driven and distorting. They're going into distortion, which we like. There's nothing wrong with that. We want that.
Passenger seat. Oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is.
All right, so let's A-B where my mix was, the V1 mix of this vocal, and then we're going to go and bounce back to what I've done now with the vocal, okay? So this is V1. This was 2 pop, and they want to go more vintage, more driven, okay? More mid-rangey, more tapey, more old school. So what I gave them, this version right now that I'm going to play you, was 2 pop for them for the vocal, okay? So let's listen.
Passenger seat. Oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up. Passenger seat. Oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up one too many times.
All right, so you hear the difference, right? Like, let's just bounce back really quick. Just A-B it quickly. All right, phrase for phrase.
Passenger seat. Oh, you told me that. Passenger seat. Oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips. Honey, oh, passenger easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. Easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet.
Okay, you hearing it? So that's like really important that we start to really address these notes. And I think that addresses it perfectly. And I would go a little bit more intense if he didn't say it feels slightly too pop. Okay. So slightly too pop. All right. Let's take it a little bit more. Let's take it a little bit more vintage, but not too vintage. Okay. Let's say what's up in the comments real quick here. All right. What do we got? Old Break. Thanks. Really interesting. Love your mix work. Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Really. Oh, hey, it's Ash. All right. What do we got? Maple Struggle. Hey, it's Ash. Listen to your new single. It's a banger. Thank you. So inspired. Dude, it's what I set out to do for sure. Make me want to work harder on my productions. Yo, that's what's up. This is real love, you know? I mean, shit, this is really, really, I love this, man. Like, thank you so much. It means a lot. Y'all don't understand, like, how much, I mean, some of you do. Some of you understand how much it takes to, like, make a record and push into it really hard and promote the crap out of it and put thousands of dollars into every song. And then, like, most of the time, people don't even want to show love, you know? Usually, they're like, I feel like a lot of the times people don't show love because they're kind of jealous. Or they're like, that's bullshit, you know, his streams aren't real, or, you know what I mean? Like, they're just like, yo, you're making me look bad, basically. So this kind of love is like, this is real shit, you know? And I'll be honest with you, the most successful people I know, they never hate on you going hard, you know? They never hate on you getting a bunch of success with your music. They're never going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to share your shit. The most successful people I know in music, they share all the shit, even if they don't like it. They're like, I'm friends with that person. I'm going to share it. All right, what do we got here? I was thinking maybe we could take more off the lower mids, 500 to 800 or whatever, to emphasize the higher mids even more. Depends on how indie they really trying to go. Yeah, and that's a good point. That's really good, Jordan. 500 to 800, I would even say like down to 200, right? If you want to really emphasize the high mids more, right? The 1.5K to like 5K is pretty indie. But it can also get too sparkly there with a female vocal, you know? So, and again, we're doing slight moves. We really don't want to like make it completely different. So, that is a good way to start to make the high mids pop more, is to go down into those areas. But I would actually say like 500 to 800 is like, that's too high. I would say more like 150 to like 150 to 500 is where I would dip if you want the mids to pop more. I mean, remember, 500 to 800, that is the mids. That's straight up indie. That's very mid-range. So yeah, you don't want to like be cutting that up, especially in a female vocal. All right, sounding dope. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Friday night, baby. That's what we're doing in Hollywood. What do we do every Friday night, you know? Like, I got a dinner tonight, yeah, but like, I'm still working on music. I'm still mixing records. I'm still taking care of clients, you know? Like, I'm working on music every fucking day, y'all. Like, I'm opening up Pro Tools, Logic. I'm making content. I'm easily doing like 12, 15-hour days every single day. And if you're not doing that, you're not anywhere near my level. I don't give a fuck. You'll never catch up with me. Like, I'm already beyond most people's level, and I'm not trying to like pat myself on the back. I'm just saying, I do this every day. I study game. I learn from people that are way better than me, you know? And to see you guys on a Friday night, 13 people right now, but really like people drop out of here. I guarantee like it'll be like 8 to 10 people most, because people get bored because they're like, oh, this isn't a cheat code. Where's the cheat code? But if you really want to be on the level of like making great records and actually having a living in music, like that's what I'm talking to you right now. I'm not talking to you if you're just like, I'm a hobbyist. I just like this stuff. I love music. Like, yeah, we all fucking love music. Don't say that. That's the stupidest debate I've ever heard in my life. Happens all the time online. Like, well, but I love music, so I don't want to make money with it. You know, you're a fucking moron. Like, what do you think? We don't love me? Oh, I don't love music. I hate it. That's why I do it every day for 12 to 15 hours a day. I hate it. Like, stupidest thing anyone could say ever. So just remember, like, if you really, really want to do this for a living, you have to commit a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money, and a lot of resources. But mainly, you got to learn from people that are doing it. Like, straight up. Get around people that are way better than you. That's just the real shit. Like, get around people that are way better than you. I have an old 4-track Tascam. There you go. Keep it or take the cash for something better. yeah, I mean, you know, what are you going to do with the Tascam? Like, unless you're like really good at engineering, like you ain't going to do shit with the Tascam, Brian. Come on. You know, get rid of it, get a plug-in. Like, I don't know. Upgrade your computer, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just depends on what you want to do. Like, I keep a cassette around or a Moog after I got a fucking nice computer, speakers, tuned room, all the plugins I need, everything I need that I've been working with. Now that's a toy. The Moog is a toy. The Tascam is a toy. Okay? Like, those are colors and those are textures and toys that you get to play with in the studio. All right, let's get back to the music though. Right now, I feel like we have this vintage tone down really, really well. And bouncing to the reference too, like their reference bounce. I keep biting my cheek. Anyway, let's bounce to their reference mix and just listen to this.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey.
Okay, so that's really like filtered. That's like it's just the mid range. So we don't want to go that filtered because I don't think that sounds good. You know, and I have to do what I think sounds good, or else why hire me? There's no point. So that's the reference. Here's what we sent. I'm gonna bounce like reference, their reference, what I sent them first that was 2-pop, and then we'll listen to what we have right now. Okay.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh. Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh. Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult. Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off. Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet.
All right, so you're starting to hear the difference, right? Like, I like the way mine sounds because it's not super filtered. But if you wanted to get that filtered sound, because that's like, you know, maybe something that they were like, oh, we just wanted to sound like that filtered sound, right? Just bypass this stuff, right? And you want to go to something that's just going to be super filtered, which I recommend. The plugin that I would recommend for this is the Goodhertz. What is it? I think it's the Wow. Oh, the Toop. Okay, so this is the plugin to like get to that sound as quick as possible. And the cool thing is they have these presets in here that are like after certain records. So check it out. So you can go into like historical stuff here, right? Maybelline, Booker T and the MGs, My Girl, The Temptations, you know, Hey Jude. So here's how you do that, like really, really quick. So let's just go My Girl, right? Let's check this one.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me fucked up one. Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me fucked up one too many.
I mean, this is like so good right here. Like just turning this preset on from the Toop. Like I'm going to bypass it in and out so you can hear the difference.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up 1, 2, easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up 1, 2, easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet.
Hey, you know, that's a pretty damn good sound. So like bypassing the tube and putting back in the Abbey Road stuff, let's A-B that.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fuck. Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fuck.
I mean, that's pretty nailed it, right? Like we don't even need the vinyl. I think we go Abbey Road Red to the tube, and then we just kind of like play with these. Because these two together is just like, that's a money combo.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up 1, easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fuck.
Yo, that's another thing about phase I want you guys to like really understand. Flipping the phase gives you different tonalities, okay? It's not always like it's wrong or it's right. And I think that's like a misconception in the audio world, especially with recording and mixing. Flip the phase, bro. You're out of phase. It's not right because it's out of phase. Like, that's just not true. That's simply complete bullshit. Because if you flip the phase, you're just flipping the phase. You're inverting it 180 degrees, okay? You're not putting it in phase with anything. It's just flipping it, okay? So when you flip the phase, you get different colors. You get different textures. You get different timbres. Sometimes you don't want the low end in there, right? So you can flip the phase on it and you can go, oh, that sounds more mid-range and more high-end in there. I like that tone, you know? When it's out of phase, it's not out of phase. It's just flipping the phase, okay? So just think of every plugin and everything you do when you're mixing. If you flip the phase, you're going to get a completely different sound, which is really cool because you get like 2 plugins in one sort of thing, you know?
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up 1, easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick 'em off your lips like honey. Oh, we both know how difficult it is to love me. Fucked up.
It's like, how vintage do you want to go, right? Like, you can flip the phase and you're like, that's super vintage. It sounds almost like a little too peaky though, like in that high mid 3K kind of area. So I'm gonna keep the phase where it's at, and then yeah, let's just balance the output back in. And what we need to do now is go back down to the vocal chain. So here's the vocal chain and the things we've tweaked on it. We put this guy on here, put a de-esser on there. We tweaked this EQ a little bit, right? We dipped out, 540, 330, pushed a little bit of the mid-range, which I think I'm going to go, whoop, I'm going to bring that back down because of the other processes we've done. That's all pushing the mid-range pretty good. Tube Tech, Pro DS. So Pro DS, Tube Tech, Pro Q3, sweeping filtering, 124, doing some nice light compression, but adding tone and harmonics. And then Pro DS to get rid of more de-essing. And then we've taken down the rap verb, which I think I'm going to bring a little bit up again. I want to get away with giving that reverb because I really think it's beautiful. Like if I exaggerate it, I'll let you hear that.
Easy, all your lies, they tasted sweet. I lick them off your lips like honey. Oh.
Like I really like that reverb. I think it's beautiful. I think it's just like very lush, and it gives that sense of space and depth that this record feels like it needs for me personally. So we can make the dry vocal more distorted and vintagey, but I think we're going to get away with pushing a little bit of that rap verb. And maybe we take this guy down just a touch more and let the rap verb kind of give us that swallow, you know, because that just feels good to me. So now all we need to do is kind of copy and paste these down to the other lead vocals, okay? We have these background vocals. I'm not really going to worry about that, but I am going to worry about the lead vocals. So we'll take the two, what do we got? The Pro Q3. We're going to go here. I'm just option dragging these, okay? And we're just building this chain back out. And then same thing on the rap verb and the vocal verb. I'm just going to option drag these down, okay? So now, okay, so this has automation. So I'm going to go cancel on that. And I'm going to look at the automation on the vocal verb. Yeah, so we want to not do that. So what we can do on Pro Tools is just trim it down. So grab all of it and go boop and take it down. All right. And you can also make sure you're like matching it by clicking here and then opening up the rap verb and seeing the level of it. So it's at negative 12.6 or whatever, right? Oh, it's on the vocal verb. I'm sorry. So vocal verb is at negative 8.1. Go here, negative 7. So bring that back up a little bit. Negative 7. So what? 1 dB, something like that. Not much. All right, there you go. And now you can keep that automation as well. All right, so let's listen to these going from each of these vocals.
How difficult it is to love me. Fucked up one too many times, leaving in the middle of the night. Baby, I don't wanna fight. Promise I'll be alright. Oh, baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah.
All right, so let's also go to the lead vocal for the chorus and let's copy that same thing. And we'll tweak this just a little bit so that it's not super filtery, because I think the chorus vocal can be a little different, okay? So just so that we can kind of open up a little bit more. I feel like it'll just sound and feel really nice for the record to kind of open up on that spot. Okay, so vocal verb is actually bypassed, it looks like, on this part of the chorus, which is good because we didn't want as much reverb. And let's try this out. Let's hear that.
Promise I'll be alright. Oh, baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. 'Cause baby.
Okay, so that's sounding much more vintage for sure, and much more mid-range, but it is pretty loud. So instead of like turning it down there, I'll take the Vox mix and I'll just bring this down so that everything kind of tucks back into the mix.
Promise I'll be alright. Oh, baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame.
Okay, and of course, to make it a little bit more vintage, we also want to be careful with the low end on the instruments, I think. So we want to probably sweep out just a little bit more of that low stuff on the instrument mix bus, because that's going to give us just a little bit more of a vintage tone. The big low end that I have right now is what kind of makes it sound more modern. You know what I mean? Because it's very big. It's very subby. It's very full range. And full range to me does not sound vintage. It sounds more vintage when you're not full range, like it's more mid-range or it's filtered, right? So let's go to, we have the drum mix, we have the instrument mix here. We'll go in here and we'll just kind of tuck this even more on the low end and just kind of look at what we have here. Like this is kind of wider, that's cool. C6 side chain, we're kind of ducking some stuff. I think we want to take this and bring this up. So like around there or so. And then we do have the drum mix master bus where we can probably kind of tone down a little bit of this stuff here. So let's get rid of that. And let's start to bring this up just a little bit to 20. And then this probably can be more of a shelf down. And I'll just kind of shelve that. So this will just give it more of a mid-range focus.
Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. 'Cause baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. But we're on fire. Yeah, we're on fire. We're burning love.
Cool. So I think we got that vintage vocal tone sounding really nice. Like it definitely sounds much more vintage and less pop to me. If we could lower all harmonies just a tad, that would be great. So as I go through all of these notes, I mean, I don't want to have to like do all that with you guys on this live because I think that'll be pretty boring. You know, like it's so boring live to like go through like, oh, I'm gonna turn down the vocal, turn down the harmonies. You know, how do you do that? You know, I just thought it'd be really cool to show you how to tweak certain things. But the other thing I wanted to show you on this live was how to do referencing, because in the notes he does say, hey, I got some references and I think you should reference these. Okay, he's got Cruel World, Brooklyn Baby, Terrence Loves You, particularly for bridge influence, and he's got Knuckle Velvet. Okay, and then one last note is, you know, turn something down or whatever. So I'm not really concerned with those notes. Those are not the notes that are that big of a deal, right? Those are the notes that you're like, okay, I turned it down, you know, or it's quieter, you know what I mean? And turn it down does not always mean just turn it down. Like that's not how we mix. There's no certain times like when you're at the final stage of mastering and you're pushing into all your mastering bus and you just turn something down, everything else goes up, right? So you have to be really, really careful about what you think turn it down means from a client, okay? Like we can just turn those down a little bit. That'd be great. We mix engineers have to be the liaison. We have to be the person that understands what turn it down means. It means we want that to be quieter. We want that to be not so heard in the mix, which is not always just take the fader and go, we'll take that down 2 dB. Not how it works. Because sometimes if you take that down 2 dB, the rest of the mix and everything else that's in that range, that mid-range or whatever that's holding, will come up 2 dB exponentially. So all of a sudden you'll get another mix note back that says, hey, can you take that down now? And then you're chasing your tail. You're like turning things up and down. Happens all the time to people that are amateur mixers. They don't understand what volume is really doing when you're going through all these mix bus processors. You're going through variable mu to an EQ to limitless to, you know, you got all these limiters and you got all these processes of saturation and gain and all that stuff. By the way, the God particle, big cheat code, but also like you have to understand what this plugin even is. A lot of people don't understand that. Like they think that this is when you have this at 100%, that it's 100%. This is actually a parallel process of harmonics. So this is like parallel distortion from Blue Stripe 1176 is in serial. So what you and other things, right? Like I don't know the magic behind it all, but what you're really doing when you have it at 109%, you have it at 59% because it's actually in parallel. So 100% would be 200%. That would be 100% on this, on the harmonics. So I'm driving at 109. Another thing, this is going to make it sound more hi-fi. So if you want to sound more vintage, you take this down as well. And I'll show you exactly what I mean so that you can hear exactly what I'm talking about, because I think it's better to always hear things instead of me just say what that is.
Baby, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. 'Cause baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. But we're on fire, yeah, we're on fire, we're burning.
So most people would crank that up and go, that sounds better. Just sounds better. Because it sounds louder because of harmonics and more distortion and more coloration, which brings the highs out more and brings the high mids up more, right? And harmonics on the low end and everywhere else. So you're hearing harmonics, and people like harmonics. It sounds beautiful, right? It's warm, it's fat. But harmonics can also make things sound really pop and really glossy. You think distortion, you think, no, that should be more vintage, right? That should be more punk rock. That should be more rock and roll. No, not necessarily. Not when you're dealing with a complex waveform like vocals, guitars, drums, bass, all this stuff, all hitting something at once, because you're distorting everything at once, which just gives harmonics to the whole thing. It hugs it all. And that can make it sound really pop and glossy. So just to really exaggerate this, let's take this to 200% and turn it on and off so you can really hear the difference.
Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. 'Cause baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. But we're on fire.
Now, right away, you're like, but it's just louder, bro. It's not just louder. And I'm not going to sit here and level match it for all you motherfuckers that say that every single time anyone does anything on the internet. Well, you got to level match it because it's louder. Like, cool, you read a tutorial on YouTube. I don't give a fuck if you don't understand that that sounds way different, regardless of level, okay? So that's turning it on and off, 129%, 200%. People automatically are going to be like, that sounds good. That sounds way better. They might turn it down and gain structure it, you know, meaning like take the input down or the output down or the limiting down or something like that. But to me, this sounds way more vintage, going to like 70%.
Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame.
You feel me? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's just like really beautiful. So it's adding a little bit of spit. It's adding top end, yeah, but it's not like making it super glossy, super loud, super harmonic. So another thing, you can always tweak, like really to understand gain staging. And I do want you guys to really get the whole gain staging idea. When you turn things, anything up or down, it's all going to affect everything else. Okay, so if you turn this up, it's going to affect this, it's going to affect this, it's going to affect this, it's going to affect everything. All everything. The EQ, the input gain, the limiter, everything. So when you start turning this up, you might want to tweak the input or tweak the limiter or tweak the output, right? So perfect example. Let's say you really like the color of this 70%. Let's turn it on and off, and let's try to make sure that the gain structure makes sense for that 70%.
Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. 'Cause baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. But we're on fire. Yeah, we're on fire. We're burning love. Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame.
All right, so like as you drive the amount, you're pushing more harmonic distortion into the mids that you pushed into the vocal, right? So we tuck back the mids just a little bit. right? Like a little over half a dB. The high end, you don't want it to get too glossy, right? So as you bring this up, you're distorting the high end, which gives you more extension on the high end, right? So let's say like you're really hearing that 16K. When you distort the 16K, you're going to hear harmonics of 16K, right? And you know, that's like going up to 32 and all that stuff, which people say like, oh, you can't hear 32, but you can hear what it's affecting all the way down. So you can hear 32 going to 17, going to, you know what I mean? Or 16. I don't know. Maybe I just don't even know math anymore. But, you know, if you have 8K, you're distorting 8K, you're going to hear more 16K. You're going to hear more, right? That's harmonics. So that's what you're doing when you're turning this up. You're distorting more and you're giving more harmonics, which means you're extending things. You're extending low, you're extending high, you're extending the mid frequencies to be fuller and louder, all that stuff. So you got to shape other things, okay? So I like where this is at. I think this is a really good, good setting.
Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. 'Cause baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives.
All right, now the record is starting to take on more of a vintage vibe. So let's listen A-B it to the mix I sent them. This was the mix I sent them. There was 2 pop, and then we'll go back to what we got now.
Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. 'Cause baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. We're on fire. Yeah, we're on fire.
See? Okay, so anyone in the comments tell me what that makes you feel, because I think that's the most important thing. Like the pop mix, when I play that, and then when I play what I'm doing now, like what I'm tweaking to make it sound more vintagey and all that shit, what's the feeling? You know what I mean? Like, what is the feeling? Because I'll tell you exactly what it makes me feel and how it makes me feel different. But I wanna get it from you guys. So again, I'm gonna play it, A-B it. Okay, so this is the pop version that I sent to them, and then I'm going to play the vintagey version that we're working on now with the changes to the vocals.
Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. 'Cause baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, your love, it drives me insane. But we.
All right, let's hear it. I want to really understand like what you guys feel from the differences. All right, let me see here. Okay, awesome. Okay, so Bradley, this is so awesome and helpful. Thanks again for going live. Makes me feel more relaxed. Okay, which one makes you feel more relaxed? Because like, okay, so because there's a delay in the stream, I'm just going to tell you guys how the difference of feeling that I'm getting from it, okay? So when I play the pop version, what I get from this and what I think that they're trying to get away from is it's really dreamy and like more like full, right? It's like full, like, wow, you know, like big and full and like dreamy and like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Spacey, stuff like that, right? But then when I play the vintage version of what I've already affected, the B, right? When I play the version we're working on right now, I feel more edge. I feel more like this girl's like kind of bad, you know? This is like a bad girl. Does that make sense? Like it just feels a little bit more dangerous. It feels a little bit more like I don't give a fuck. Okay? So like this is like I give a fuck, and I'm like really trying to make you be in a big place, in a big world. And then I'll play you the vintage vibe.
Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. Baby, when I'm with you, I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. 'Cause
Do you feel me though? Like the vintage vibe, I get why they want to go more vintage and indie, because it's like what she's saying, you know, like spinning out of control and I'm the one to blame sort of thing. You know, it's like this is just how I am. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a badass. I'm a badass chick. If you can't hang, you can't hang. The other one, like the pop version, is more like I really care what you think. You know what I'm saying? Like I really care what you think. I want to make sure that you feel how you feel good, and like I'm trying to take care of you. But the more vintage vibe is more like I don't give a fuck. This is just the way it is. Sorry. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. There's just differences. It just feels different, you know? All right, let's hear it. Okay, so first one, yeah, I agree. The first one makes you feel much more relaxed. It's more chill. It's not as in your face. It's not as aggressive. It's more pleasing to everybody sort of thing. And that's what pop is, right? That's what the pop mix is for me. All right, Drew. Feels less washed out, and I can get to hear the downbeat synthetic. Maybe I'm not reading that right. Synths. Okay, let me hear the downbeat synths. And I can hear the downbeat synths. Okay, well, sort of understand that. Well, the aspects you broke down is what I'm gauging off of. The sound constructs you called vintage was adjusted enough to help me understand what vintage is, like that old record player kind of room. Yeah. But, you know, vintage in this context, I think is more rough around the edges, more broken up, more cool, and I don't care so much what you think. You know what I mean? And I think when you're mixing and you get to a certain level of mixing, you can get those attitudes across without having to, like, that's why people give you references. They're like, yo, try these references, check these references, because they want you to understand, because they can't explain to you like what they think with the mix, you know? They're like, I don't know how to say it. Maybe distort it more. You know what I mean? But distortion is only a part of it. So as far as feel, I can understand the differences, and I'd say the feeling and sound even on my phone is drastic with a few turns of those knobs. Yeah, it's very drastic, and it's a different feeling. Maybe I'm wrong, but I felt a nostalgic vibe in B version as well. Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Nobody's wrong. Like, there's no right or wrong here. You know what I mean? This is art. Like, mixing is absolutely an art form, and I think that that's really important to remember. But 100%, there's a nostalgic vibe to it because of that vintage tone. And it feels a little bit more, you know, if you've heard like Duffy records, right? Like that's what they really went for. I think even Lana Del Rey, it's like very distorted and old school, like very rounded, you know, like meaning not a whole lot of top end and not a whole lot of bottom end, but just very like round shaped. And that's what gives that feeling, I think. You can feel the power chords on the downbeat. The synth work comes out. Yeah, I feel that 100%. And that's just like clearing up the top. Where and when you choose to compress and with which compressor, I'm not getting, and I think that's the experience difference. So it's nice to see another. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, compressors all have colors. Some of them just compress. They just turn down a signal, right, when it crosses a threshold. But most of the time when we use compressors, at this level of mixing, we're using a certain compressor for its certain characteristics, whether it's a slower attack or a slower compressor or a faster compressor, depending on the material, what kind of distortion we want out of the element. You know, I mean, if you notice, I mean, I notice it right away, but if you notice when I turn on this guy here, when I turn this on, you're going to hear that mid-range jump, right? So I'll just even solo out this vocal.
Oh baby, when I'm with you I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane. I'm spinning out of control, no one can save me, and I swear you're the one to blame. 'Cause baby, when I'm with you I go crazy. Yeah, you love it, drives me insane.
Right, so it just has that tonality that it's pushing that mid-range up just a little bit. And it's not just the compression. So you hear it more on the lead on the verse because it's just more open.
Oh, you told me that love was just so easy. All your lies, they tasted sweet. I'd lick them off your lips like honey. Oh.
Right, you get more of that like that mid-range just pops really hard on this compressor, and that's because of the distortion from the compressor. So it could be the tubes in there, it could be the input or output transformers, it could be anything, but that's what's driving that mid-range to push it, to make it sound like you're EQing the mid-range a little bit more, which you're not, you're distorting it. So when you distort that mid-range, it's going to sound louder, right? So if you distort that 1 to 2K area, 1 to 3K area, you're going to get that, you're going to get to, you know, because it's like adding fuzz around it. Okay, let me see. You can feel the power chords. Yes, we talked about that. Okay, cool. Yeah, and you know, this is just kind of like, I just want to do this live with you guys because I could have easily just done this on my own and like gone through and done all the notes. But I saw the first note of like, hey, this is too pop and I want to make it more vintage and old school and tapey and vintage vibey. And then I was like, oh, that would be great to like go on a live stream and show you guys what that means to me. As a mixing engineer going like, oh, that's too pop. A lot of mixing engineers would be like, what the fuck? Nah, man, that's exactly how it should be. It's dope like that. But if you don't understand the nuance of records and what producers and artists are trying to do, and you're not really paying attention to what they're trying to do, you're going to miss the mark if you make it pop or if you make it too trap when they really wanted it to be more punk rock. You know what I mean? Like even hip hop beats, they might want it to sound more gritty and more rough, and rather than like really pop, and they're not chasing like Drake sound. You know what I mean? So you gotta understand these things and how to get to those places. But that is all the time I got for today, you guys. I got to go to dinner. My wife wants to go somewhere fancy, so I'm like, let's go. You're paying. Doesn't matter. We file jointly, you know, share the money. Appreciate you guys coming through. If you guys can, just share the show. I'm going to leave this one up. I've been putting them private and having only, members of the channel be able to watch the replays. But I realize, like, you know, that's just kind of shitty. I don't need anyone to really pay for these. I want to share this game. So you guys share this show and make sure you guys show love. And if you need a mix, master, production, anything like that, hit me up. I'll leave links in the description. Definitely come to the table like an actual serious artist though. Like don't come to me like, oh, I want to do a mix and do one mix with me and then like disappear off the planet. Because like I just don't like working with people like that. Like my game plan is to build business with people. So if you're looking for someone you want to build business with and you want to build a relationship with, and understand like I have companies and content all the time and ways of promoting your music, right? Like this has gotten 5 streams right now. I've sent this content to multiple plugin vendors, which are going to be posting content about this song and these artists. So yeah, if you're looking to build that kind of relationship with someone, I think I'm a really good person for that. And obviously don't come to the table with some bullshit. I will not work on bullshit. I won't work on stuff that's like baby food. I don't have the stems to this. I just have the rap and the 2-track. Like, mix it yourself. That is so stupid to even pay anyone for, right? But if you do have a record or 5 records or 10 records, or you're planning on releasing every month or every other month, you know, etc., then we should definitely build a relationship and start to talk about how we can build your business, right? Because that's what I'm about. I've been doing this for 25 years in music. I've been making my living for about 15, 16 years in music, and I am very, very versed in all of this stuff, from composition to production to writing to mixing, mastering. I understand how to take notes, and I understand how to partner up with people and get them exposure and marketing and promo and help them with so much more than just making their record sound good. And that's a really big, big, big up on a 2023 vibe, right? So if you guys are looking for that, then hit me up. If you're just looking like as a hobbyist and you're like, I'm just trying to learn how to make my shit sound better, then don't hit me up for mixing. Don't hit me up for production. Don't hit me up for any of that, right? I'm looking for serious people only, okay? Otherwise, just watch my streams and check out the free content. Like, it's free. You know what I mean? Tap in. All right, peace, guys.